About 3 years ago, I took a job at a small gas station off Route 17, about 40 miles outside of Denver. I was desperate for work after dropping out of college, and this place was hiring immediately. No questions asked, just show up and work the graveyard shift from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. The pay wasn't great, but it was something. The gas station was called Mountain View, which was ironic because all you could see at night was darkness and trees. It sat at the edge of a long stretch of highway with nothing but dense forest on three sides. During the day you'd get your typical customers, truckers, families on road trips, hikers heading to the trails. But at night, especially after midnight, the place became a ghost town. My manager, an older guy named Frank, gave me a quick tour on my first day. Standard gas station setup, a small convenience store with snacks and drinks, 2 gas pumps outside, and a tiny back office with a cot for breaks. What caught my attention was a door behind the counter that led to a basement storage area. "Don't go down there at night," Frank said casually as we walked past it. I laughed, thinking he was joking. "Why not? Something scary down there?" Frank didn't smile. "Just don't. We keep it locked after dark anyway. If you need supplies, get them before 10 p.m. That should have been my first red flag, but I needed the money. I convinced myself every old building had its quirks and weird rules. The first week went by without incident. I'd sit behind the counter, scrolling through my phone, occasionally helping the rare customer who'd stop by for gas or energy drinks. By the second week, I started noticing a pattern. Every night around 2:30 a.m., I'd hear footsteps above me. Now, there was a second floor to the building, but Frank told me it had been closed off years ago. Structurally unsafe, he said. The staircase entrance was boarded up behind a storage shelf. But those footsteps were clear as day, slow and deliberate, like someone pacing back and forth. The first time I heard it, I nearly jumped out of my skin. I grabbed a flashlight and checked outside, thinking maybe someone was on the roof. Nothing. I even called Frank at 3 a.m., waking him up. "It's probably just the building settling," he said groggily. "Old place makes noises. You'll get used to it." But I never got used to it, because it wasn't random creaking. It was footsteps. Same time every night. Same pattern. Walk from one end to the other, pause for exactly 10 seconds, then walk back. By week 3 I started timing it. 2:30 a.m. on the dot, the footsteps would start. They'd continue for exactly 15 minutes, then stop. I tried to ignore it, convinced myself it was pipes or the wind or whatever explanation let me sleep during the day. Then came the night that changed everything. It was a Tuesday, dead quiet, no customers for over 2 hours. I was restocking cigarettes behind the counter when I heard a car pull up. I looked out and saw an old pickup truck, probably from the 80s, covered in dirt and rust. A man got out, maybe mid-50s, wearing a hunting jacket and boots. He walked in with this weird smile on his face. "Evening," he said, looking around the store like he was seeing it for the first time. "Evening. What can I get you?" "Just gas. Pump 3. He handed me a 20 and kept staring at me. Not in a threatening way exactly, but intense. Like he was studying me. I processed the payment and handed him his change. He didn't move. "You work here alone?" he asked. "Manager's in the back." I lied quickly. "Should I get him?" The man's smile faded slightly. "Nah, that's all right." He leaned in closer. "You hear the footsteps yet?" My blood went cold. "What?" "The footsteps. Upstairs. Round 2:30 every night, right?" I couldn't speak. How did he know? "I used to work here," he continued. 10 years ago. Night shift just like you. I heard them too." He glanced up at the ceiling. "You want to know what's up there?" Every instinct told me to say no, to tell him to leave. But I was frozen. "There's a room up there. Locked from the inside. Has been for 30 years. He lowered his voice. "Back in 1993, the owner's son lived on that second floor. He was a strange guy, kept to himself. One night, he locked himself in that room and never came out. They found him 3 weeks later when the smell got too bad. Hung himself from the ceiling beam." I felt sick. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you need to know what you're dealing with." He looked at his watch. "It's 2:25 right now. In 5 minutes you'll hear him again. But tonight's different." "What do you mean different?" He was already walking toward the door. He only walks for 15 minutes. But every few years on November 19th he walks all night. And if you're here alone? He paused at the door. He comes downstairs. Wait. I called out, but he was already gone, driving off into the darkness. I looked at my phone. November 19th, 2:27 a.m. My hands were shaking. I told myself the guy was crazy, just some local trying to scare the new employee. But then I remembered Frank's warning about the basement. About not going anywhere after dark. About the boarded upstairs. 2:30 a.m. The footsteps started. Same as always. But this time I couldn't ignore them. I stood there, listening, counting each step. Back and forth. Back and forth. 15 minutes passed. The footsteps didn't stop. 30 minutes. Still going. My shift ended at 7 a.m. That was 4.5 hours away. I thought about leaving, just walking out and never coming back. But I needed this job. I needed the money. I tried to distract myself, cleaning, reorganizing shelves, anything to keep my mind occupied. The footsteps continued, relentless and rhythmic. Around 4 a.m. I heard something new. A door creaking open. Then footsteps on stairs. Not the boarded upstairs, but the basement stairs. They were coming up from below. I watched in horror as the basement door handle began to turn. I'd seen Frank lock it. I knew it was locked. But the handle turned anyway. The door opened slowly. The basement was pitch black, but I could see something moving in that darkness. A figure climbing the stairs. I ran. Didn't think, just bolted out the front door into my car. As I fumbled with my keys, I looked back at the gas station. In the second-floor window I saw him. A man's silhouette watching me. Then he raised his hand and waved. I didn't go back. I called Frank the next morning and quit over the phone. He didn't seem surprised. How long did you last, was all he asked. 3 weeks. That's better than most. I found out later that the gas station goes through night shift workers constantly. Nobody lasts more than a month. Frank knows exactly what's happening there but keeps hiring because he can't work nights himself anymore. Not after what he experienced years ago. The worst part? 2 months after I quit, I was scrolling through local news and saw an article. The old pickup truck I'd seen that night had been found abandoned on Route 17, about 5 miles from the gas station. Inside was the driver's body. He'd been dead for at least 2 weeks. But I'd talked to him. He'd warned me. Unless whoever warned me that night wasn't the man who owned the truck. Unless what walked down from that second floor wasn't always content to stay upstairs. Unless it had found a way to leave the building, to find the man who used to work there, to silence him before he could tell anyone else the truth. I still drive past that gas station sometimes during the day when it feels safe. There's always a new face behind the counter. Some young kid who needs money and doesn't ask questions. I want to stop and warn them. Tell them to quit before November 19th rolls around. But I never do. Because deep down, I'm terrified that if I walk back through those doors, even in daylight, I'll look up at that second-floor window and see him there. Still watching. Still waiting. And next time he might not let me leave.